This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
So yeah, Alpha, I broke my own rule, the ladder rule.
Uh-oh.
You know, I read somewhere, in fact, I have a very good friend whose dad, great guy, was down in the basement and was trying to change a light bulb. He was just up on a step ladder, fell, hit his head on a corner of a coffee table.
Oh.
And, you know, was dead within a few months after being at a rehab center forever because he had brain damage. But I read somewhere that the number one cause of death for newly retired men, one of the leading cause of paralyzation and death, is falls from ladders. You know, because they have nothing to do, right? So they say, oh, I'm going to clean out the gutters. Or I'm going to, you know, this year I'm going to really put the Christmas light. Anyway, they get up on a ladder and they have no balance. They have no coordination, which is me. I have no balance. I hate heights. So I'm up. I'm trying to mount a television. You know, you put that thing on the wall, that metal, and then the TV has the hooks on the back.
Right.
And it's an older TV. It's a big TV, and it's still got a great picture, like a 4K picture, but thing weighs like 150 pounds. I'm up there wrestling. I'm up on about the fifth step of the ladder, and I push, and the ladder just does a slow motion over. And, man, I hit the ground, and I just said, I'm going to lay here for a minute before I try to move.
With the TV?
Huh? No, the TV stayed up there, just me and the ladder. So I said, I'm going to give it a minute before I try to move, just in case my hip's broken or something. And it just hurt really bad, and it was embarrassing. And then later, I'm starving, and I've moved all this stuff, and I get out a knife, and I just about cut the end of my finger off. So it was an interesting day yesterday. But
wow, man.
My tip is, old guys, stay away from ladders, okay?
Yeah, we still feel like we can do the things we used to do.
Yeah.
And then our body says, hey, you better rethink that.
That's my number one tip for the day. My number two tip for the day is, if you're Hunter Biden, crawl back in your hole and stay there, because you're not helping anything.
Well, I've got 5 possible thoughts about why he did this.
Okay.
Maybe possibly his end game here.
Is one of them he was high?
Well, we'll get to it. Number one is he plans to run for office. Now, I got this from a writer, these ideas from a guy named Mike LaChance. And he says, number one, he's probably thinking of running for office.
You know what? I saw the interview. I watched it. I was kind of fascinated by, I didn't watch all of it because it was 3 freaking hours.
Right.
But he did say, if I were running for president in a year or 2 years or 3, like I said, first of all, you better figure out how often they vote for president if you're gonna you're gonna run. But I kind of got a little at myself.
Well, aside from that, we learned that he has a marvelous talent for using the F word.
Oh, it was like watching an episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. It was just
exactly
beep, 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 beep.
The second possibility is he is just trying to get the Democrat Party to acknowledge and then raise money to make him shut the hell up.
He's good at that's the other thing he's good at, is raising money. And who was that guy that was doing the interview? He looked like some old hippie with a weird hat on, and they're sitting out in the yard under a tree somewhere. I didn't get it.
Yeah, drinking lemonade, of course. Number 3 is he's looking for a job in media. And I'm sure he's thinking, the CBS Late Show got an opening here. So,
and I can say the F word all I want.
And he's at least as funny as Colbert is. So.
Exactly.
Number 4 is he's pushing to get a reality show. Mm-hmm. Now, where D-list celebrities can use all the drugs and alcohol and use all sorts of F-bombs.
Okay.
And in a world where My 600-Pound Life and Honey Boo Boo can make it, who knows?
Yeah.
And finally, number 5, he's just freaking nuts.
Yeah, he is crazy. That's my theory. That's my theory. He's got that, and God bless all these people who are recovering drug addicts, but he's got that look that, he could be on the pipe tomorrow. He just has that, that white knuckle look that he's just coming down and he needs a fix really bad.
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm clean.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just such a weird. The guy doing the interview was weird. The interview itself was weird. And then why would his dad's? I guess his dad doesn't have a team. But then, when he said some things in that interview that were pretty startling. Number one, to make it public that a president was using Ambien is like a huge deal. Now, Ambien, I can tell you from experience, I spent 40-something years getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And when I was young, it used to be easy, Alpha. I could rock and roll till 11, 12 o'clock and get up and be there and do an okay job the next day, right? But then, you have kids. And kids are noisy and loud. And so it became impossible to take a nap. And it became impossible. I went to my doctor and said, "Look, I can't sleep." I said, I'm aggravated and in a bad mood all the time. I'm just exhausted. And he said, "Well, you need to be going to bed about 7 o'clock to get up at those." And I said, "Well, try that with 2 kids in the house."
Yeah.
And so he gave me Ambien. And I took Ambien for 12 years.
Wow.
And then when I stopped taking it, I couldn't sleep at all. I mean, I went about 3 or 4 days, just literally couldn't go to sleep. And the doctor said, "You're just going to have to tough it." I didn't have it wasn't like a physical where I felt like I got to have Yeah. It's just I couldn't go to sleep.
Hit me.
And he said, your brain has gotten so used to that it will wear out over time. But I had started to notice some of the really bad effects of it. When you first take it, like I would, first of all, you never want to take it unless you're in the bed. I mean, make sure you're in the bed when you take the Ambien. Because it has kind of a hallucinogenic, psychotic effect when it first hits you, and then you go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
But to know that a president, that's in charge of the button is on this, that was a scary thing to come out of that interview.
Plus, before the debate, there was rumors that he would be somehow on some sort of drug, and they asked his staff that. They said, "No, that's just a lie." Afterward, they asked Crinjon Pierre, was he on any sort of medication, and she denied that as well. And now here comes Hunter going, "Oh yeah, he was goofed on Ambien."
Well, that was the opposite of the kind of drug we thought he was on.
Right.
He has supposedly really bad sleep apnea and is wearing one of those masks, and so they pop him an Ambien, put the mask on him, and put him in the casket and wake him up right when they got somewhere. But then we were thinking, that's when they give him the shot of the amphetamine or whatever to really get him going.
Right.
But who knows? And the other thing, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they prescribe Ambien anymore for people over like age 60 because it's been linked to dementia.
Well,
and clearly there's some of that going on. So, but I don't know. I cannot imagine that anybody in the Biden camp heard about this beforehand and said, "Yeah, that's a great idea. Send Hunter out under the tree with that hippie and the baseball hat and just have him say the F word all the time." But I did like the fact that he attacked everybody.
He went after everybody. I mean, and friends of Democrats.
He went after George Clooney hard, man.
Yeah.
And
he went after Jake Tapper.
Yeah.
He went after James Carville. Well, you got to admit, he's had a great career after he played Skeletor for so many years on TV.
I'm sick of seeing and hearing James Carville's.
Well, and then he engineered the Clinton campaigns and Oval Office.
Right.
And now occasionally he comes up with a gem. He said the other day that the Democrat Party is like a cracked out clown car. So, occasionally he'll come up with a good one.
But he's gone. He's the past. They're moving on from people like him and looking for new people. I don't think they have any new people like that, but they're
sure they got Pete Buttigieg.
Oh God, he's such a nightmare. He is, he reminds me a lot of Gavin Newsom in some ways, the gay Gavin Newsom. He says a lot of words, but they don't mean anything. Right. And he comes up with some of the craziest theories. Did you ever hear his theory about when he first came in as head of the Department of Transportation? He said one of the big things we're going to be working on a DEI initiative is we're going to get some of these bus routes that were designed in a racist manner. And I went, wait a minute. It's mainly the minorities that ride the buses. And so his theory was this. You got to be sitting down for this one. He said, "Did you know that they made the bridges shorter on the way out of the city to the beaches so that the buses couldn't go under them, so black people couldn't go to the beaches?" And I thought, do you have any proof whatsoever of this? Did you speak with the engineers or architects that designed any of these things, or is this just some of this new age left-wing liberal, everything's racist?
Yeah, and when these bridges were built, how high were buses then? And does that make sense that they would have...
He just made it up. He just made it up because it sounds like it's virtue signaling. It sounds like he cares. And then you were telling me about how much did he spend on DEI initiatives?
$80 billion.
What do you do with $80 billion for DEI?
Well, I know what you could have done with it. You could have improved air traffic control.
Radar and that kind of thing.
Yeah, which we've seen here lately with the airport in Newark. Has had severe problems.
Yeah.
And there will be more problems
a lot of them have problems. In fact, yesterday, I just saw this on the news this morning. We have this great woman on one of the local stations. She's actually from Greensboro, and she was a news anchor up there, but now she's a pilot and gives flying lessons and stuff. But she comments on the Charlotte station on aviation, and just yesterday, a Southwest plane nearly collided with a B-52 up in North Dakota or somewhere. So they could have used that money a little more effectively.
And he actually argued against improving air traffic control because he said that would make it easier for people to fly, and we want to control emissions, so we want fewer people flying. Because of global warming.
Yeah, he's a climate nut. While he climbs in his personal jet and fly, he's filthy rich.
Yeah.
Pete is. And my favorite thing about Pete is this picture of him breastfeeding. I still get a kick out of that with this little fake boobs that he puts on to breastfeed his little baby. It's just so sweet to look at.
It is charming.
So what do you think about the story's been around forever, but Tulsi Gabbard really dropped a bombshell day before yesterday, and it's a bombshell because, number one, the mainstream media is not talking about it.
Right.
And number two, the Democrats are saying, oh, we've heard all this before. Goodness, there's nothing. We've got tariffs to worry about. We can't be concerned with this.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting was these national security advisor people below the Brennans and those people, they're all saying, well, we just did what they told, we just said what they told us to say. We didn't come up with the evidence or anything. We were just told to report it.
Yeah, apparently there are a lot of whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork now who are, they lived it for years, and now they just can't take it anymore. And now that we're shining some light on that, they're starting to go, yeah, you need somebody to talk. I'll talk. I'll talk about Clapper. I'll talk about Brennan.
And it's all leading back to Obama and Hillary.
I got a feeling that Barack Obama is working on his mugshot game about right now.
Yeah.
Because if it's going to be as bad,
or going back to his real country of origin. Maybe he's done
because Trump set the bar for mugshots.
Yeah, he really did.
Obama better be working on his game because it's looking like there might be some arrests coming soon. How that will work out, how it'll play both in the media and with America in general, who knows? But I mean, it's like it's coming.
I've already seen on social media, on places like TikTok. I'm big on the TikTok, Alpha. I'm on there all the time posting things, and I'm very progressive on there. But
of course you are. I mean, you're cutting edge.
I did a little thing on TikTok about that, and automatically they're saying, well, the POTUS has already said that no matter what the president does, he can't be charged. And I don't think that covers treason.
No, but there are some pundits who are going, maybe treason is not what's happened here. Maybe there's some other lesser crimes, because treason you punish by death.
I think if you try to stop somebody from getting elected by false means and trying to influence the outcome of the election of the United States, to me, that's treason.
I think it certainly is tiptoeing the line, whether it crosses it or not.
Yeah, I mean, but this is America. Nothing's going to happen. He might get a slap on the wrist and write another book about it, and he's so sorry that he did it, and blah blah blah.
And that will be sad if it does happen, because if crimes that are committed, I don't care who commits them, if they are committed and go unpunished, then there's you can commit any crime you want. You can do anything you want. If there are no consequences.
It's going on right now. We got illegal immigrants that are raping people, killing people, and they put them in jail. They let them out on bail, and they do it again. We find out every day about it. I'll tell you the one person that will come out of this smelling like a rose. Hillary Clinton. I don't care what happens. She is Teflon. Somebody else will die, maybe, that was going to testify against her, but that's just an inconvenience, and she'll have to go free.
Might conveniently commit suicide.
Who knows?
But the thing is, with all the release of the CIA papers, I mean, she just released 230,000 pages on the assassination of Martin Luther King. If we trace back some of the connections with the CIA, the FBI,
right,
whomever, if in the CIA papers and documents, if they do a single word search for the word Burisma, it will be amazing the connections you can draw, and not just with people on the left side of the ledger, but Republicans as well, like Mitt Romney, John McCain.
Ukraine has been a slush fund for both parties, I think, for a long, long time. I'll tell you what's interesting. I've been talking about this JFK docuseries we're doing on our other YouTube channel, History City. The guy that's doing most of the research and writing of this piece is convinced now there was a second shooter. I mean, the more he goes into it, he just says there's just no way one person did it. There was a second shooter there, and there were other people involved. And, he's got a lot of stuff about the Warren Commission being rigged and just some really bad stuff. So that'll be coming up in mid-August on History City if you want to see that thing.
I don't know how you feel about it, but the more things come out like this, the more names of people who I held in high regard, I am now finding were just part of the corrupt machinery all along. And
I think that some of them, they meant well, and they saw that there wasn't anything they could do to change it. And so I think some of them just did the best they could with what they could do while they were there. But they're going to come out looking really bad historically, that's for sure. So we were talking a minute ago about Gavin Newsom, he's just an empty suit. He says a lot of things. He does a lot of hand gestures. And depending on who he's talking to and where he is, his story changes. His opinions change just depending on who he's talking to.
Like
one
men
time,
and women's sports.
Yeah, he's against that, and then he's for it, and blah, 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 on and on and on. But one thing California's done, and you had mentioned this, and everybody saw this coming, was this minimum wage hike that they did in California. Now, how many jobs has that cost California so far?
Well, it's cost 18,000 jobs just in the fast food industry alone.
Not only that, but get this. I just read this morning. In-N-Out Burger, which has been a California institution for 75 or 80 years.
Right.
The daughter of the founder runs the thing now. They're moving out of California to Tennessee.
Yeah, moving to Nashville.
Yeah, they're going to move the whole corporate thing to Nashville, like a lot of corporations have done because of it. But
well, there's so many things that are counterproductive like that. I mean, you think, well, we'll jack up the minimum wage because people need to earn a living wage, and then you jack it up to the point where employers can no longer afford to produce a product and then pay that wage. Their production costs exceed.
Well, they could, but nobody's going to go into McDonald's and pay $25 for a hamburger. It ain't Five Guys. You know, the last time I went into Five Guys, I said, "This is my last trip to Five Guys."
Right.
I mean, your hamburgers are good, your fries are good, but I'm sorry, I'm not paying $25 for a hamburger, fry, and a shake or whatever.
Right.
But I saw a map the other day that was just really fascinating to me, and it was, now the big thing is these big city left-wing controlled major metropolitan areas. The politicians' answer to all the problems is the government will run everything.
Right.
We're gonna open supermarkets. We're gonna make sure people get food, and we all know how that works. We've been to the DMV, but they put up this map in Chicago, and it was a map. Now, listen, McDonald's University is in Chicago. Mm-hmm. That's the main headquarters right there in Chicago. They put up a map of all the McDonald's locations 5 years ago in Chicago and put it next to a map of all the locations there are now, and there's like half as many. Because they couldn't control the theft, they couldn't hire employees, the police wouldn't respond. It just became too dangerous to operate one. You couldn't make money, so they just closed them. And then the politicians they look at that map and they go, and these racist franchise owners don't want black people to have the good McDonald's hamburgers, so listen to me, if they could make a penny selling black people hamburgers safely, they'd be in there selling them all they wanted. It's not that. It's crime. It's plain and simple, but...
Yeah, and there are already a number of places, a number of cities that have what they call food deserts or pharmacy deserts, where they have to travel far outside of their area in order to find a grocery store or a drugstore or a pharmaceutical
and it's not hard
doesn't
to
have
see
food
why.
Locked up behind glass.
Yeah, it's not hard to see why when you see where they have these meetups where they use social media meetups and 300 people show up and they all run in and start robbing from the store. So the people who operate the store go, "Hey, we're just going to shut it down. We can't do it anymore."
Yeah,
we just can't do it.
And back to Governor Newsom. I mean, he throws it right in your face sometimes with things like going out to the French Laundry when everybody else was locked in on for COVID. He will do things that obviously scream that he's some sort of elitist while claiming he's trying to help people with things like this minimum wage. I was reading the other day, or just this morning, about the grandson of Fidel Castro. Have you read about this guy?
No.
Sander Castro, the grandson of Fidel Castro.
Does he live in Cuba?
He lives in Havana, but he is filthy rich because he's become wealthy as, guess what? An influencer.
You're kidding. Who do you influence in Cuba? If you want to get the best bananas, what do you talk about to influence people in Cuba?
I don't know, but he lives actually in Havana, and
he
drives around.
Are you sure he didn't get a whole bunch of money from Fidel, who ripped off Cuba for 50 years, and now he's an influencer with a lot of money?
The whole Castro family. But he drives around. He drives around a Mercedes-Benz. He takes friends to restaurants and spends as much on a meal for friends as most Cubans make in a month.
Right.
And so if there's a lesson in capitalism there it is. And meanwhile, Justin Trudeau is going, damn, why didn't I think of that?
I'll have to check that out. I have not seen, I didn't even know Fidel Castro had a grandson. He was very secretive about his women and children and everything over his life.
Well, I mean, he's Justin Trudeau's dad, so.
Wait a minute. Fidel Castro?
You hadn't heard any of that?
No.
Oh, yeah. His dad, his so-called dad, Pierre Trudeau.
Now, I remember him from when I was a kid. That was
okay. Well, and his
that
wife,
was a household name.
And his wife, what was her name? Anyway, they were big friends with Castro. They went to Cuba quite often, and Mrs. Trudeau wrote often about her friendship with Fidel Castro. Mm-hmm. And if you put pictures side by side...
They might appear at the Coldplay Kiss camera thing if they were together there.
Well, apparently haven't done that yet. But if you put pictures of young Fidel Castro alongside younger pictures of Justin Trudeau, there's a big similarity there.
Wow.
So
what about, hey, let me ask... While we're talking about politicians and their wives, I'm pretty convinced that Macron's wife is a man.
Well, there's a lot of evidence that would suggest that. So
yeah, it just keeps popping up. The evidence just keeps popping up.
Something keeps popping up.
I really think she's a man. Have you read the book about it?
I've not read the book.
Oh, there's this book out where. Well, I'm sorry, not a book, but Candace Owens. Now, let me tell you what. Yeah. You don't ever want to get Candace Owens pissed off at you because she is a bulldog. She did this series about him and his wife, and she just dug deeper. And she started getting cease and desist from the French government to stop the activity immediately. But he was like, 14, 13, 14, and she was his art teacher in her 30s, or he was the art teacher in his 30s when they started, doing it and everything. That's a crazy story.
Well, even put aside the fact that she may be a he, the whole relationship is totally inappropriate.
Pedophile. She's pedophile. Today, we'd call her a pedophile.
Yeah.
She'd go to jail.
Yeah, and I think she was married at the time, though I don't know that for sure. But then, that became more than just I'm tutoring this kid and I'm helping out. Then it became a relationship.
Yeah, she was tutoring him, all right.
Well, she was tutoring something, and then they were married.
He's giving him the old tutor. Give him the old tutor routine. You know what I mean?
Then he's on his way to becoming the president of France, and she's the first lady.
So I wanted to. You mentioned something about this, and I just moved to a new house, and it has one of those Ring doorbells.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I said, "Oh, this is great," and I got to download the app and everything, and I'm all ready for. Then they want a subscription.
Yeah.
They want me to pay. Somebody already paid a couple $100 for the camera. They want me to pay to be able to see who's coming to my door. I'm not going to do it. But now they've added drone surveillance to it. Is that it?
A spy drone, yes. So you can get a spy drone that will hover over your house
all the time,
and I guess, or as much as it will be allowed to stay up there based on its battery, whatever.
They're noisy and irritating.
So it will fly over your house and even track burglars if there happens to be one around. But I suspect it will also spy on your neighbor who's sunbathing naked outdoors next to you.
Maybe I will get a subscription.
It's looking better all the time now.
Huh. Now, I do have, I'll tell you what I did. I bought we went on a trip, and I had... nobody could take care of my Labradoodle. He's very well behaved. We have a doggy door and I have a fenced yard and everything. So we were going to be gone for like 5 days. So I put out about 2 weeks worth of food and about 3 weeks worth of water, left the doggy door open, and I had in case there was a fire or whatever, he could, he comes and does his business and he sleeps on the couch anyway. And I had what was this thing called? It's not a Ring. It's one that Microsoft makes, but it's a little camera, and I have this app And so not only could I see him, but I could talk to him.
Sure, yeah.
So I could open up there and I go, "Hey, Murph, how you doing?" His dad, and he'd look up, and everything. So I could check on him all through the day. He was fine, but same deal. They wanted me to buy a subscription. I'm not paying $12.99 a month for that. Sorry, I'm cheap.
Yeah. So one thing we've learned here, Jack, is we can't be climbing ladders anymore, and
Right.
we're old coots when it comes to paying subscriptions for stuff.
I'll tell you one thing else I learned yesterday, and I found this really fascinating. This story about Stephen Colbert getting fired is just how they managed to politicize that and connect that to Trump. I'll never imagine. Now, Trump sued CBS over the 60 Minutes interview.
Right.
With
And got a judgment.
And got a judgment. And so somehow they've turned that into, and he got Stephen Colbert fired. The fact of the matter is CBS, by their own admission, was losing $40 million a year off that show. Now, my first thought was, how the hell do you spend $40 million on that show? It's just, there's some lighting and a guy comes out and tells some political jokes. And
well, the thing is, the production costs alone for that show are $130 million. So that doesn't include Colbert's salary,
which is $20 million, I think.
Upwards of $20
million. $20 million, yeah.
They have a staff of over 100, and I think dozens of writers.
I don't see it. I mean, I don't see it in the product, is what I'm saying.
Well, exactly, and to pay that kind of money and be second, far behind Gutfeld, who, regardless of what you think of Fox News or Greg Gutfeld or his show, he has a staff of 12 people, and that includes two cameras.
All those shows, to me, besides Gutfeld, have become unwatchable because all they do is come on and attack Trump and Republicans. That's all they do. There's no comedy there anymore. They just come out and attack Trump, and it's not just him. It's Kimmel and it's the NBC show with Jimmy Fallon. They do it as well, but obviously Colbert was the worst.
I never found him funny to begin with. I don't know if you remember years before he was even on
Comedy Central.
Well, before that, he was doing commercials for Mr. Goodwrench. He did Mr. Goodwrench commercials.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, well, I found him to be very obnoxious then. It was like, God, I don't find you funny. And then all of a sudden, he's doing this other thing.
Here's my point about him getting fired. Did you know that throughout the first half of 2025, this is going to shock you, reruns of Gunsmoke had higher ratings than Colbert did.
Wow.
They had higher ratings than any of the Disney Plus shows that are on Gunsmoke. Can you believe that? When I read that, I was literally shocked.
Well, overall, network TV is suffering. I mean, you can count, there are a few network TV shows that are enjoyable and you like to watch. Network TV news is truly suffering. I mean, ABC News is the number one in network news broadcasts, and their audiences are about 7 million people.
If you're not a Democrat or a liberal, it's just unwatchable because
when you figure 7 million out of 160 million adults in America, that's pretty minuscule.
But when you turn it on, you just feel attacked. You feel like they're attacking your way of life, and I don't believe anything they say because of all the lies they told during the Obama administration, the Biden administration, during COVID. I just don't believe a word they say.
And they, like Colbert's show, are losing a lot of money. And if RFK Jr. succeeds in banning pharmaceuticals from advertising
which I hope they will,
news shows, then
it's going to end their revenue sources.
That's more than 25% of their revenue.
Local television has the same problem that local radio does, and it's called the internet. They just cannot compete. I was talking about this on the show, John, the other day. Both John and I still do a good bit of voiceover work, and a portion of my work is doing imaging for radio and TV stations, where you go, coming up 12 in a row on the country. Well, now, it was funny. John Garrett, and another friend of mine named John that does that, we all three got the same letter on the same day from one of the major broadcast companies. They're eliminating all their imaging voices and going to AI voices.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So they're not going to be using, and with the exception of their morning shows, which are syndicated in most cases, they don't even live in the town that you're listening to them in. Right. The day parts are slowly going AI. They will build. You send them all this information about your market, and they'll create an AI person that you give the name to. You pick the voice, and that'll be your DJ.
Well, that's something close to you and me because you started me in radio. You did radio for 40 years. I did morning radio for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
More and more, there are not just the AI thing, but there are other options. I mean, you got podcasts. I mean, you got you for crying out loud. You've got satellite radio. You've got books on tape. You've got other things.
They got hit from about 5 different directions, and then they got hit by COVID. And when COVID happened, first of all, in about 08, 09, we had a big recession when the housing market fell apart. They lost about 30% of their revenue. And then the internet and all the other things that had been hurting them were all still there. They were still growing. And then COVID happened. And it just got worse. So they just can't make it. And you see it in local television as well. They're like now they've gotten rid of all the local weather guys in a lot of the markets. Right. And it's like you said, if they didn't have the advertising from the pharmaceutical companies or Sonabella, what would they do? If you didn't need your fat sucked out, what would you do?
Who doesn't need the fat sucked out? But that's this thing is not just local. It's happening. It's going to send shockwaves through Hollywood here very soon, because I saw the other day that Netflix is going to start experimenting using AI characters in their production. Mm-hmm. Disney is about to do the same thing. So if you're creating voices, if you're creating images, if you're creating likenesses of people, then you don't have to use actors or stages or sound or lighting or all these other things. You just create it on your computer.
Yep.
And that's not a happy thought for a lot of us people who make a living in the acting business.
Now, there is one idea for a new show that I read about this morning that might work. And I typically hate these kind of shows. I think I may have mentioned this to you. Like, I hate The Bachelor. I hate The Bachelorette. I don't want to see the Silver Bachelorette, the Golden Bachelorette. I don't see any of it because it all ends the same. You have 13 whores chasing this one guy, and one of them gets him, and on TMZ goes, oh yes, they're madly in love, and then 6 months later, they broke up. Or
now let's not be sexist here. You also can have 13 man whores.
I was just about to go the other way, and then the other side of that, you got 13 horny guys, and they're chasing this one woman, and she picks one, and they fall in love, and they get married, and then you find out 6 months later they're kaput. Well,
but over the course of a couple of conversations, they're so deeply in love.
Oh, and I just don't know why people get into it because I see it so fake. But there's a new one that they're putting together, a new reality show, and NBC's doing this one, and it's called "Are You My First?" And all the women are virgins.
Okay,
and they have to have a test, to determine, because, they'll lie about that. Women will lie about that. They have to have a test. They have to have a test. Back in the good old days, Alpha, back in biblical times, you had to prove your daughter was a virgin. And they did that by, this is true. It was, there's several stories in the Bible about this in Jewish culture that if your daughter was betrothed to a Jewish man, they had what were called the wedding night cloths. Right. And it was a cloth with blood on it that they kept. Right. And then if the husband ever accused her of not being a virgin on the night, they go, no, see here, this is it. I don't know. I'm sure that's not how this is going to work. But
I suspect if you did a DNA test on some of that blood, you'll find it may have come from somewhere else.
Donkey blood. I don't know how this is going to be. It's goat blood. I don't know what happened. But it says here This will be the hottest group of virgins ever assembled. And they will search for intimacy, love, and maybe their first in a tropical paradise designed just for them. So it's really just the same thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like these shows where they bring married couples together and see if one can be seduced or lured to have an affair while they're on these secluded, beautiful tropical islands.
And it's going to be, there is a show, it's a European show. What's that? Love Island. That's real big right now. But it'll be hosted by two Bachelor Nation stars, Colton Underwood and Caitlin Bristow. I don't have no idea who either one of them are. Well, I wish them luck with it. I hope it's a big success. Maybe you'll be on there.
No, no. I have some degree of standards. Although the older you get,
how much would it cost? How much would it cost to get? If they came to you tomorrow and said, Alpha, you're a widower and you're a handsome man, you're an actor, we'd like for you to be on the really super golden Bachelor. And we're going to bring in 15 really hot golden bachelorettes who will be vying for your love. What would be, John and I do this all the time, what would it cost to get you to do that? What would be the fee?
Well, it would cost a relationship that I already have with.
Okay. Well, let's say there's no relationship.
Okay, Susan, there's no relationship.
No relationship. You were just you were single and you're up for this role. What would it cost?
Totally hypothetical. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. $50. $50, round trip airfare.
Now, John comes up with these dumb things. He came up with the dumbest one the other day, and he calls me. He goes, I've got a great idea for the podcast tomorrow. I go, okay, great. What is it? And he goes, okay, here's the thing. And he waits till we're doing the podcast to spring to something. He goes, would you accept $100,000, but to accept it, you had to give your worst enemy $100 million?
Wait a minute. Would you accept?
In other words, if somebody came to you and said, Jack, we'll give you $100,000, but if you accept it, we give your worst enemy $100 million.
Wow.
I said, nah, I'm going to hold my grudge for $100,000.
Yeah.
And he said, so what would it take? And I said, $1 million. If they gave me $1 million, I wouldn't mind giving the other person $100 million. I mean, if it's their money, I'm not giving it to them, right?
I guess everybody has a price. I guess so. We're not arguing over what we are. We're just arguing what's the price.
All right. Well, anyway, Alpha Trevette, my semi co-host a few times a week here. Great to see you again, Alpha. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it. We're on YouTube. We're on all the other major podcast distributors through Podbean. And, of course, you can check out our other content on History City. There's a lot of good historical documentaries. We've got one in mid-August coming up on JFK's assassination that I think you'll find interesting. And on tomorrow's podcast, we've talked about this a little bit, but we're going to dig a little deeper tomorrow into where all the fire aid money went. We were talking about Gavin Newsom and that Mayor Bass in L.A. Did you know that here it is, almost 7 months after the fires, they've issued 5 building permits.
Yeah, and they're saying, after saying, no, we're not going to buy it all up and run it by the government. Now they're saying, well, maybe we'll build some
low-cost housing on it.
Low-cost housing.
But there's a real scandal involving this concert, this fire aid concert that raised over $100 million. You're going to be shocked at where some of that money went. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. But thank you.
$100 million.
$100 million.
Kind of like a lot of the money that was raised for Haiti by the Clinton Foundation.
Yes, vanished, and Haiti looks like it always has. Looks like hell on earth. So, anyway, thank you for watching today. We really appreciate it. Like and subscribe the Jack Murphy Podcast, and have a great day.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.